the big breaking news right now. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has finally resigned, and he was finally forced to resign, in fact, in the face of unprecedented resignations of his cabinet, of senior and junior ministers. In fact, 60 MPs in all resigned. And now we're expecting that he will make a statement, an address to the nation at 5 p.m. India time, which is noon there in London. So the Prime Minister, after this latest crisis to hit him, has the one that actually, in a sense, broke the camel's back, finally being forced to resign today. And that resignation, in fact, has happened. And as we said, he will be making an address to the nation at 5 p.m. Now, what we are hearing is that he wants to stay on as he'll resign as the head of the Conservative Party, but he wants to stay on till they choose a new Prime Minister, they choose his successor. However, there are many in the Tories who want him to go immediately and not really, color or poison the image of the party further by staying on as a caretaker Prime Minister, as the entire process of electing a new Prime Minister takes place, with a new leader takes place within the Tories. So they may even see an interim Prime Minister. So Boris Johnson may not stay on as an interim Prime Minister. They may choose another interim Prime Minister, a caretaker Prime Minister, as the Tories complete the entire process of choosing a new leadership and a replacement to Boris Johnson. Well, let's go across to Radhika Iyer now for more. And Radhika joins us from outside Downing Street, and 5 p.m. that statement, India time, we're expecting that statement from Boris Johnson. It's been, quite a tumultuous last 2 days to cap off a tumultuous couple of years of Boris Johnson as Prime Minister, and, really getting that ball of resignations rolling was Rishi Sunak and the Health Minister, Sajid Javid, who both of them first resigned, and that really led to this string of resignations, and finally Boris Johnson having no choice but to resign.
Yes, that's correct. Not just resignations, but a serious revolt that we saw from within the Conservative Party, who wanted Boris Johnson out, including some of his senior loyal friends within the Conservative Party, including Preeti Patel, Rishi Sunak, of course, who's known to be quite loyal. And he self-admittedly in his letter said that I have been loyal to you, Prime Minister Boris, but we can't continue, and that the nation expects integrity. So the reasons for Boris Johnson to leave is not just because of some decisions he has taken, and not just because of the scandals, but because there is a serious breakdown of trust in his leadership. There is a serious integrity issue that he suffers from, and now it is for him to sort of move towards the next step, which many would say that he should have done yesterday, which is to resign, which is to actually get that message and make that resignation. His statement is ready, we are told from sources. We are also told from sources, very interestingly, within number 10, that Boris Johnson at the moment is now trying to fill up the posts of the cabinet, which are now vacant at the moment. Now, why would he do something like that? Would that be because he is trying to pitch for himself a position to continue as caretaker or interim Prime Minister until the time that a new leader is chosen? Or is it because he wants to leave by being seen as doing his job as the Prime Minister to try and fill in some important vacancy posts? So we won't know until he, of course, makes this statement. We are told that it would be 5-ish India time that when Prime Minister Boris Johnson will be making the statement. We are told that the statement is ready. Now, what led to where we are today? There have been several scandal after scandal, which Boris Johnson was amidst, and one of the serious ones being the appointment of Chris Pinker, who, of course, was alleged to have had a sexual misconduct earlier, an allegation which Boris Johnson was apprised of as the Prime Minister in 2019, but he went ahead and appointed him in a senior post, which didn't go down well with several leaders within the cabinet. But that happened just recently. Just earlier, we saw several scandals, including the Partygate scandal, which was from December 2020, when Boris Johnson was seen partying. Pictures were leaked from number 10, where Boris Johnson was seen partying, breaking self-isolation rules, breaking COVID lockdown rules when the entire nation was otherwise reeling under COVID and several thousands of people were dying, and the NHS, which is the health system here, was making sacrifices after sacrifices to put themselves at risk, while the Prime Minister was seen partying with hands filled with champagne glasses and raising a toast to togetherness and breaking self-isolation rules. The apology came after, but the apology was not quite an apology according to what experts say, according to what politicians say, according to what the people felt, which is why during a very recent survey by YouGov, which asked this pointed question to British people whether they would like to see Boris Johnson as Prime Minister, 78% voted no, and only 18%, many of them Brexiteers, said that they want Boris to continue. There's also been a huge resentment against the Brexit campaign which Boris Johnson led. He led the Brexit campaign. He led the nation to reach Brexit in 2016 when the referendum took place. And many allege that some of the mentions during that campaign by Boris were not quite completely accurate. What outcomes of Brexit happened, again, is something that British people are trying to understand, because a lot was promised, but a very little part of it was achieved in itself. Now, what happens next? Given all of these integrity issues that Boris Johnson faces, it's very unlikely that he may continue as interim chief minister. It is an option, but I'm not sure that will be an option that the Conservative Party would prefer, only because there is no cabinet at the moment. The government is nearly defunct, with nearly 60 people putting in their resignations. So even if there were new posts that were filled by Boris Johnson, would they actually have the consensus of the Prime Minister? Would there be coordinated functioning or governance? The question, one doubts that very much. The second option that the Conservative Party has is to appoint an interim Prime Minister, which is likely to happen quite soon. And the real issue for the Conservative is to find a permanent replacement for both the Conservative leader as well as the job of the Prime Minister, which the party is foreseeing, and also going through a list of contenders who will sort of throw in their hat if they have at least 8 of their colleagues backing them to become the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, the opposition parties, Labour as well as the Liberal Democrats, are getting ready, because this is an opportunity for them. And it poses this very tangible question on whether there's likely to be elections earlier than scheduled in Britain.
All right, Radhika. So that statement at around 5 p.m. It's very interesting, because we're seeing, things being reported in the UK media, and many of the Tories, many of the MPs want him gone as soon as possible, because they feel that, his whole, the fact that he's told so many lies during his prime ministership and, changed statements during scandals, etc., that if he were to stay on as a caretaker prime minister, as the Tories go through the entire process of electing a new leader, that it would, something that would poison the image, or continue to hover in, like this dark shadow over the Tories at the time. So many of them very keen to have this entire process of a successor happen sooner, and as that happens, as you said, preferably another caretaker prime minister, not Boris Johnson. But it's quite a crisis, given that everybody in the government seems to have resigned.
Well, according to the survey, the British people want Prime Minister Boris Johnson out. According to what the industries have reacted with just this news that Boris Johnson is resigning, the pound value has increased, clearly indicating that there is relief that Boris is on his way out. According to the cabinet and the resignations we saw, they don't want Boris to be on that chair of the Prime Minister. So there is no reason really, or a very well-founded validation for Boris Johnson to stay as Prime Minister. And so it seems more apparent and imminent that there is likely to be an interim Prime Minister in place very soon. Now, whether that would be an interim Prime Minister or whether the Tory party will decide sooner than later who the replacement to Boris Johnson will be something we will know within a few hours, perhaps by end of today or maybe even tomorrow. But the statement that Boris is likely to make is going to be very, very crucial. Now, how does things pan out for India at this